A decade prior, I intervened to rescue my lifelong companion Liam from a blaze, which resulted in permanent hearing impairment in one ear. Subsequently, my parents died in quick succession, witnessing my unexpressed emotions for Liam. The elderly woman next door convinced him to wed me as a gesture of repayment for my bravery. However, when I was abducted and my captors demanded a ransom, Liam responded coldly, saying, "Because I owe you." I couldn't marry the person I truly loved. Why do you persist in this facade to torment me? Aren't you exhausted by it? In the end, the kidnappers brutally murdered me. When I regained consciousness, I found myself back on the day of the fire. This time, I didn't act impulsively to save him. Instead, I called emergency services out of a sense of moral responsibility. After being released from the hospital, Liam grabbed my wrist with bloodshot eyes and questioned, "Why didn't you save me this time?" I laughed bitterly. Being a fool once was enough. Suddenly, a sharp pain pierced through me, and when I opened my eyes, I was engulfed by roaring flames. Was this hell? I let out a bitter laugh. Dying didn't seem so terrible. It meant I wouldn't have to endure such a miserable life anymore. "Help! Save me!" A familiar voice echoed from the fire. "Mia, please save me!" I froze. Hadn't I lost my hearing to save Liam? Then I realized how recognizable this scenario was. My heart raced. I had genuinely returned to 10 years ago, before everything began. "Mia, my leg is trapped! Come and help me!" Liam shouted again. I turned away, preparing to leave. In my former life, I had cherished Liam since childhood. Despite knowing the risks, I still rushed to rescue him, resulting in my hearing loss and forcing me to abandon school and my passion for music. I dedicated everything to him. After my parents died, the elderly neighbor convinced him to marry me out of gratitude. Back then, I was overjoyed, believing we would finally be together. But marrying Liam felt like descending into a void. He harbored feelings for someone else, yet still married me. He used gratitude as a pretext and exploited me to compose music for his project, White Moonlight. Sophia. He deceived me, claiming that since I was deaf, it was better for Sophia to arrange the music under my name to prevent the compositions from being overlooked. I trusted him until Sophia gained fame, and I discovered she was the person Liam had always loved. When I confronted him, he accused me of taking Sophia's place and treated me with indifference, telling me I should be grateful. Even when I was kidnapped and the abductors demanded a ransom, he deemed me unreasonable. During a video call, I desperately signaled for help as the kidnappers loomed behind me. Meanwhile, Liam attended a gala with Sophia, his arm around her shoulders. He frowned and coldly stated, "Because I owe you. I can't marry the one I truly love. Why do you keep acting to torment me? Aren't you tired of this?" To communicate better, I had learned to read lips. The kidnappers, infuriated by the absence of ransom, beat me to death. Reflecting on my past life filled me with anger. My deafness was his doing. If he didn't intend to repay me, he shouldn't have pretended. Why give me hope only to crush it so mercilessly? "Mia, don't leave. Please save me. If you go, I'll die." Liam's cries emanated from the flames. This area was secluded. If I hadn't known Liam was here, I wouldn't have come. I also realized this was Liam and Sophia's secret hideout. If I truly left, Liam would undoubtedly perish. Annoying jerk. If I weren't worried about his ghost haunting me, I wouldn't bother rescuing him. Out of a sense of duty, I muttered curses under my breath, while calling the fire department. Moreover, what if the fire spread and threatened nearby homes? I wouldn't foolishly risk my life for such an ungrateful individual again. Walking home, I appreciated hearing sounds once more. Just as I reached the base of my building, I heard hurried footsteps descending the stairs. I caught snippets of conversation about Liam from the Carter family. "Mia's always trailing him, but she's not even answering her phone," someone remarked. Listening to their voices, my eyes began to well with tears. It felt as if the last time I heard my parents' voices was in another lifetime. My father quickly spat a few times, attempting to dispel the ominous words, his tone filled with worry. "Mia, are you all right?" he asked, his voice trembling with concern. I quickened my pace and called out, Dad, Mom, I'm fine." "Oh, you little brat," my mother scolded, her voice sharp, yet affectionate. "You nearly scared me to death. Why didn't you answer your phone?" Are you trying to give me a heart attack? She poked my forehead while yelling, but her reprimand felt endearing now. As long as Mia is safe, I'm fine, my father added, his voice a mix of relief and admonishment. Mia, next time, make sure to answer your phone, he nagged from the side. My nose stung, and I couldn't hold back my tears. I dove into my mother's arms, clinging to her as I cried loudly, Dad, Mom, I missed you so much. I won't put my phone on silent anymore, and I won't care about Liam either. I just want to stay with you both. In my previous life, after my parents died, I was overwhelmed with regret, wondering if I had paid more attention to them. Would I have noticed their illnesses earlier? Would they have lived longer? What's wrong with me? Were you bullied at school? Or did that Carter boy give you attitude again? My mother muttered in confusion, patting my back as she instinctively comforted me softly. After starting high school, I had become more rebellious, constantly irritated by their nagging. Now I couldn't believe I found comfort in hearing their voices. My mother probably thought I had suffered some enormous grievance to act this way. I didn't explain, just buried my head in her embrace and sobbed until my eyes were swollen. Then I looked up and said, Mom, Dad, we have to go to the hospital for full checkups. I had a dream that you were sick, and I'm scared. I dragged them toward the hospital without waiting for their response. Perhaps my pitiful tears moved them because they just sighed and allowed me to pull them along without protest. At the hospital, they underwent every possible test. Some of the quicker results would be available later that day. I decided to wait for them, determined to ease my heart. While waiting, we unexpectedly encountered the elderly neighbor. She approached me, wiping her tears as she said, Mia, you're here to visit Liam too, right? Don't just stand here. Come inside. Without waiting for my response, she pulled me into the hospital room. In my previous life, the neighbor had treated me very well, so I couldn't refuse her. However, as soon as I entered the room, a red apple flew toward me. Get out! I don't want to see him. Make him leave, Liam shouted angrily. He was lying in bed, his head wrapped in thick bandages. It seemed that without me, Liam had suffered more severe injuries this time. Mia came to visit you, the neighbor scolded him, her voice choked with emotion. How can you say something like that? Do you even know that if Mia hadn't saved you, you might not even be alive? Liam glared at me, his eyes full of resentment. Grandma, she just called 911. That's the least she should have done, he snapped. Then, fixing his gaze on me, he sneered. Mia, you didn't lose your hearing this time, so you won't force me to marry you, right? I froze, my heart sinking. Liam had also been reborn. He knew I had been reborn too. I looked at his battered body wrapped in bandages and felt relieved that I had only called the fire department. The pain and inconvenience caused by his injuries, along with others' misunderstandings, meant that this lifetime, Liam should bear it all himself. With a cheerful smile, I bid farewell to Liam and the neighbor. As soon as I stepped out of the hospital room, I met my parents' gazes, both wearing expressions that practically screamed, We know something's up. I really don't like him anymore, I said, trying to defend myself. You don't even know. His face is ruined now, all black and charred. So ugly. Without realizing it, my voice grew louder. From the hospital room, I heard Liam's furious roar and the sound of something breaking. My parents hurriedly pulled me away, their expressions a mix of exasperation and embarrassment. In this lifetime, I hadn't been injured, so I continued to attend school as usual. The lively chatter of my classmates filled the air, making me feel a little disoriented. It had been so long since I had experienced such a normal scene. Following my memories, I walked toward my classroom. I remembered how, in my past life, my stubborn infatuation with Liam had caused me to fall out with my only close friend, Emma. Soon after that, the fire happened. I lost my hearing, dropped out of school, and eventually married Liam. The inferiority complex brought on by my disabilities, coupled with Liam's indifference, led me to sever ties with my friends. This time, I wouldn't sacrifice my friendship for someone as unworthy as him. Determined to mend things with Emma, I sought her out immediately. Emma, I called as I approached her, but she walked right past me as if she hadn't seen me. I froze, a pang of sadness hitting my chest. Even when someone intentionally bumped into me, I didn't react. A sharp, mocking voice reached my ears. Well, if it isn't the little lapdog who follows Liam around every day, sneered Sophia, the girl Liam had loved in my past life. Liam's in the hospital. Why aren't you rushing to see him? Don't tell me you're too heartbroken to even speak. Want me to call him and ask him to comfort you? He listens to me, you know. Her sidekick chimed in with a laugh, her eyes filled with malice. I looked at them calmly and replied, well, best wishes to both of you for a long and happy life together. I had no intention of getting caught up in their drama. I remembered that the school's music competition was approaching soon. In this lifetime, I hadn't lost my hearing, and I wouldn't let Sophia steal my compositions again. As I made my way to my seat, a sudden sharp pain shot through my scalp. Did I say you could leave? Sophia's furious voice snapped behind me. Before I could react, the painful tug on my hair vanished. Mia, are you seriously out of your mind? You argue with me so fiercely, but when it comes to Sophia, you just wilt like a flower. Emma appeared out of nowhere, glaring at me as if she couldn't believe how spineless I was being. Sophia looked ready to scream. Emma, how dare you stand against me? Do you want me to tell my dad to have you expelled? Go ahead, Emma shot back. Do you even know what century we're living in? This is a public school in a lawful society. There are cameras everywhere. What kind of big shot are you pretending to be? Exactly, I added, seamlessly joining in. And with all these classmates as witnesses, you were the one who made the first move. Also, the way you're talking, I can't help but suspect your dad might be involved in some shady dealings. Otherwise, why are you so confident? Whoa, no way! Emma exclaimed dramatically. Mia, could it be we've uncovered a major school scandal? Whoa, no way, Emma repeated. We played off each other effortlessly, leaving Sophia fuming, her finger trembling as she pointed at us. Why are you slandering my dad? She demanded. He's not... She turned to Emma with a sneer. Emma, are you Mia's mate now? She doesn't even acknowledge you. You're pathetic throwing yourself at her like this. After delivering her parting shot, Sophia stormed off in a huff. I looked at Emma sheepishly. Don't listen to her nonsense. You're my best friend. I was just such a fool before. Emma rolled her eyes but smiled. You better remember that. I shouldn't have fought with you over Liam. Emma had been quiet the entire time, staring at me intently. It wasn't until there was just 1 minute left before class started that she finally spoke. Fine, I've known you long enough to know you're the type who won't turn back until you hit a wall. If you really want to make up, I have one condition: protect your songs and under no circumstances share them with Liam. The bell rang, signaling the start of class. I nodded repeatedly, eager to repair our friendship. Emma and I returned to the way things used to be, without any lingering awkwardness. Later, the results of my parents' health checkups arrived. Thankfully, while both had minor health issues, they were caught early and could be fully treated. It was a weight off my chest. Emma also helped me sign up for the school's singing competition. Although it was meant to be more for fun, the judges were teachers from prestigious music schools, and each year they scouted a few students for special admissions. The timing of my rebirth had been unfortunate. It was the start of my senior year. In my past life, I had wasted so much time chasing after Liam that my academics had fallen apart. Now, starting over with my studies would make it impossible to catch up in time. So why not take a gamble on this competition? Why can't I join the competition? I asked the teacher when I heard my application was being questioned, perhaps due to the school's collaboration with music institutions. My school placed significant emphasis on vocal performance alongside academics. My vocal abilities had always been among the best. However, my homeroom teacher looked troubled. Mia, he began hesitantly, I know your vocal skills are excellent, but the school has introduced new rules this year. Participants must not only excel in their talent, but also demonstrate good character. Unfortunately, you've skipped class multiple times and broken school regulations. I didn't want to accept this decision, so I tried to plead my case. Suddenly, I noticed Sophia sitting by the teacher's desk, her arms crossed as she smirked at me with smug satisfaction. Emma, ready to argue on my behalf, was about to step forward, but I quickly pulled her back and left the office. Sophia sneered as we passed her. This is what happens when you cross me, she muttered contemptuously. That's it. I realized she must have pulled some strings behind the scenes to manipulate the situation. Emma clenched her fists. Mia, just wait. We're taking this to the education board. Even so, I knew the outcome wouldn't change. Skipping class and breaking rules were facts I couldn't deny. When we returned to the classroom, we saw Sophia organizing a group to visit Liam in the hospital. She even made a point to emphasize that not participating would mean neglecting our collective class spirit. I rolled my eyes in disbelief. In my past life, I could understand her hostility, but in this one, I hadn't even competed with her. Where did all this animosity come from? Because there were so many visitors. The group split into smaller batches. When it was my turn to enter Liam's room, I saw Sophia sitting by his bedside, her face full of concern. Liam responded to her softly, his tone gentle. I averted my gaze, uninterested, and casually placed the fruit I had brought on the table. Then I found a spot in the corner and started scrolling on my phone. Liam scoffed when he saw me, but quickly turned back to Sophia, his expression tender. Sophia, he began, raising his voice as if on purpose so I could hear. After this accident, I realized I need to tell you something. You're so kind and considerate, always looking out for me in class. Liam, Sophia interrupted, her voice dripping with emotion. I understand. I feel the same way about you. But we're still in our senior year. Her words were accompanied by an expression of overwhelming gratitude. In my previous life, Liam had never been so reckless. Look at him now, his face still wrapped in bandages. Yet he was already rushing to confess his feelings. You're such an understanding girl, Sophia, Liam said earnestly. I'm not trying to pressure you into agreeing. I just don't want to leave any regrets in my youth. Sophia hesitated, looking conflicted, and I suddenly found myself entertained. Smirking, I interjected, Sophia, you're not rejecting Liam because of his burns, are you? You wouldn't, right? Right, Sophia snapped. What nonsense are you spouting? Liam, how could I possibly mind something like that? Then why don't you just accept his confession already, saying you like him but refusing him? What are you, one of those fake sweethearts who love stringing people along? I teased, my voice laced with sarcasm. Shut up, Mia! Liam suddenly snapped, his voice filled with anger. Don't think this will make me pay attention to you. Sophia is nothing like you. I rolled my eyes so hard I thought they might fall out. Where on earth did Liam get the confidence to think I still liked him in this lifetime? Scoffing, I shot back. Take a good look at yourself in the mirror before you start talking. His face froze, his hands clutching the bedsheet tightly. Sophia? She chimed in, her voice indignant. How could you say something so cruel to Liam? Are you really such a shallow person that you don't like him anymore just because his face is burned? Fine, Liam replied. I'll accept your confession. The only reason I hesitated before was because I didn't want to hurt you and Mia, knowing you two grew up together and you clearly used to like her. Liam jumped in hastily. I liked her? That was your misunderstanding. She's the one who always clung to me. Perfect match. A scumbag and a petty woman, I said, standing up and clapping mockingly. Congratulations to you both. I hope you live happily ever after. Just don't go out and ruin anyone else's life. Both their faces turned sour. Without waiting for a response, I headed to the restroom. When I returned, only Liam was in the room, picking up my phone. I prepared to leave. Mia, since you can't compete in the contest, why don't you just give your song to Sophia? Liam's voice broke the silence. I froze, then turned to him slowly. Liam, even if your face is ruined, you shouldn't be shameless too. How do you have the audacity to suggest giving my song to someone else? If you give your song to Sophia, he continued, ignoring my jab, I'll let go of the fact that you didn't save me during the fire, and I'll still marry you after this. I couldn't help but laugh out of sheer disbelief. How can you say something so ridiculous? Marry you? I've already died once because of you. And that wasn't enough? Do you think I'd willingly sign up for another round of misery? My chest felt tight with frustration. Looking at Liam made me feel nothing but irritation. Why didn't the fire just finish you off? If you don't like me, then why did you call the fire department? He pressed. Mia, this is your last chance. Don't regret it later. I paused mid-step, tempted to throw something at him, but realizing I'd have to pay for any damages, I refrained. Instead, I glared at him and said coldly, I feel sick just looking at your face. Can you stop being so self-absorbed? Calling the fire department doesn't mean I like you. Maybe you should see a psychiatrist for your delusions. With that, I stormed out of the room. afraid that staying any longer might cause permanent damage to my brain. The day of the competition arrived swiftly. Emma had been fuming on my behalf the entire time, especially when it was Sophia's turn to perform. "The principal is just awful," she muttered angrily. "He's scared of ruining his daughter's reputation, so he stopped you from competing. If you were in the contest, no one else would even stand a chance." On stage, Sophia was dressed in a white princess gown, her face exuding confidence. "Good evening, teachers," she said sweetly. "Today, I'll be performing an original song." She paused, glancing smugly in my direction. The audience buzzed with admiration as Sophia performed under the dazzling lights. Her song was introduced as an original work. Many teachers were visibly impressed, marveling at her supposed talent. But the song she sang was mine. She hadn't even bothered to change the title. "Mia, why is she singing your song? Did you give your composition to Liam?" Emma stared at me in disbelief, clearly waiting for an explanation. I couldn't exactly explain that Liam also retained memories from our past lives. Back then, this song had become a nationwide sensation, especially as Sophia's debut hit. How could Liam possibly have forgotten? Sophia had finished her performance on stage, holding her head high, clearly expecting the judges' praise. However, one of the judges spoke in a serious tone. "Sophia, your singing skills are indeed impressive, but are you sure this song is your original work? I tugged on Emma's sleeve, signaling for her to calm down and focus on the stage. "Don't worry," I whispered. "I've got this under control." Sophia froze for a moment, panic flashing in her eyes before quickly composing herself. "Teacher, did someone say something to make you doubt me? I can assure you this is my original composition. No one has ever performed it before." The judge sighed heavily, his expression unwavering. "If that's the case, then why was this exact song submitted to me a month ago? The submission even included detailed notes on its creative process." Sophia clearly hadn't anticipated this twist. Her face went pale as whispers rippled through the audience. Suspicious and disbelieving glances were cast in her direction. Tears welled up in her eyes. But the judge merely shook his head. "Forget it," the judge said finally. "At your age, it's normal to be vain. Step down for now. As for the student who submitted this song, I believe they're also from this school. Why not come forward and showcase your talent?" The principal quickly jumped in, laughing nervously. "That's impossible. A song praised so highly by the judges couldn't have been written by one of our students. My daughter probably found it online." Ignoring the principal's attempt to cover for Sophia, I stood up from the crowd, raised my hand, and walked onto the stage. Dressed simply in my school uniform, I carried myself with poise and confidence, a stark contrast to Sophia's overly polished demeanor. The judges smiled kindly as they asked me a few questions, all related to the email exchanges I had previously had with them. I answered each one smoothly. Sophia stood below the stage, her face ashen, her earlier smugness completely replaced by despair. Just like in my previous life, the competition garnered widespread attention, and my song became a nationwide hit. But this time, I wasn't just the composer. I was also the performer. The recognition earned me a special admission to a prestigious music school. The same judge who had exposed Sophia's plagiarism later became my mentor. As for Sophia, she was publicly called out for plagiarism and shamelessly claiming the song as her own. Ridiculed by everyone, she eventually left for another country, supposedly to avoid the spotlight. Liam's situation wasn't much better. From what my parents told me, he was ostracized at school. Even the girlfriend he had started dating in high school broke up with him, citing his disgraceful reputation. Lately, he had been lurking around my house, trying to approach me. Avoiding him was a temporary solution at best, and today was proof of that. Liam grabbed my wrist tightly. His eyes pleaded as he demanded, "Why didn't you save me this time? Why aren't you following me anymore? Don't you love me anymore?" I couldn't help but roll my eyes at his theatrics, pulling my hand away. I replied coldly, "Liam, in my last life, I died because of you. What makes you think I still like you? Do you think I'd willingly set myself up to die for you again?" "No, I didn't know," he said desperately. "I really didn't know. If I had known, I wouldn't have let you die. Does it matter? I still died in the end, didn't I?" I scoffed, shaking my head. "Liam, have you fallen in love with me? How pathetic can you get? My words seemed to stab him straight in the heart. His face crumbled and his eyes filled with hollow sadness. I'll prove myself to you, he muttered before walking away. I didn't see Liam again after that, though I heard rumors. Apparently, he had started a company using his memories from our past lives to quickly establish himself as a rising star in the business world. Despite everything, he still maintained an on and off relationship with Sophia. It was said that Liam spared no expense to build a team to support her, pouring huge amounts of money to elevate her career. As Emma stuffed a piece of watermelon into her mouth, she sneered, "With that team of his, anyone who isn't mute could become famous. These two are seriously annoying. Back in school, they wouldn't stop giving me trouble. And now they're still at it. That endorsement deal they're fighting over? It doesn't even fit Sophia's image at all, yet she insists on butting in." I took a bite of watermelon, joining Emma's rant. "What can we do? Liam's willing to spend money on her?" Just as I spoke, Sophia sashayed over toward us, exuding fake elegance. She looked at me as if I were beneath her. "Mia, even if you won back then, what does it matter? This endorsement is still mine now. Oh, and I should thank you. If you hadn't given up on Liam, we wouldn't be together." I stood up, my height making me tower over her by half a head, looking down at her. I smirked. If Liam loves you so much, why didn't he help clear up all the gossip about you? With his resources, that would have been easy. Over the past few years, I built up my own strength. While I wasn't powerful enough to fully challenge them, I had enough to hold my ground. No matter how much money Liam poured into Sophia, I still outshined her. My new songs and albums were constantly compared to hers online, with me coming out on top every time. Even the incidents from our school days had resurfaced, with public opinion overwhelmingly in my favor. Sophia, on the other hand, leaned into her infamy, thriving on a controversial, love-to-hate image. "You don't get it," Sophia snapped, her face cold, but her voice clearly flustered. "Liam's doing this on purpose. Controversy drives traffic. You wouldn't understand." "Sure," I replied dryly. "If you're happy being publicly hated, then by all means enjoy it." Sophia glared daggers at me. "Mia, laugh while you can. Just watch. I'll whine to Liam and he'll take away every opportunity you have right now." Feigning mock fear, I clasped my hands to my chest and said sarcastically, "Oh no, you're so considerate, taking on my workload while I'm too busy to handle it." Then, with a dramatic wave of my hands, I grabbed Emma and walked away before she could respond. The next morning, Emma came running to me, breathless. "Mia, all your endorsements and shows, they've all been replaced with Sophia's." Before I could even react, social media had exploded. My accounts were flooded with angry comments calling me talentless and questioning why I was hogging so many resources. "Get lost. We want our Mia back, trash Sophia. Leave our queen alone. Get this copycat off our screens." Sophia didn't help matters. She posted a smug caption. "I said I wanted them, and he gave them to me." Attached was a photo of her holding hands with Liam, but the response she received wasn't what she expected. Her post was met with an endless barrage of ellipses, followed by relentless mockery and criticism of both her and Liam. Emma shook her head, exasperated. What are they even doing? Are they that desperate for public humiliation? I sighed. It's baffling. They're practically inviting the backlash. To calm my fans, I posted a statement assuring them I was using this break to focus on creating new music, which I would debut at an upcoming international competition. The response was overwhelming, with fans pouring out support and even attracting new followers. My fan base grew significantly overnight, but my unease lingered. Liam was a businessman, and he wouldn't normally make moves that hurt his own interests. This felt like a setup for something bigger. Soon enough, I discovered he'd been quietly trying to reach out to me through intermediaries, likely attempting to lure me out. Then, as I hurried home one evening, I heard his voice behind me. Mia, wait for me. My heart sank, and I quickened my pace, determined not to fall into whatever trap he was setting this time. Can we find a place to talk about what happened before? Liam asked, his voice muffled behind a mask, leaving only his eyes visible. For a brief moment, I thought I saw vulnerability in them, but I must have been mistaken. There's nothing to talk about between us, I replied coldly, turning to leave. Before I could take a step, Liam grabbed my wrist. I immediately yanked it away as if it burned me. Don't touch me, I snapped. Don't you have your beloved Sophia now? After all, you've been stealing my opportunities for her. So why are you bothering me? The flicker of weakness in Liam disappeared in an instant, replaced by his usual overbearing demeanor. Mia, why can't you just listen to me? Why does it have to come to this? I rolled my eyes, his words implying that I was being unreasonable, pretending to call for security. I waved toward an imaginary figure. Seeing this, Liam reluctantly let go of my wrist. Mia, he said softly, I miss you. You'll understand everything soon enough. His words made me wary. To avoid any unnecessary complications, I decided to minimize going out, limiting any chance Liam might have to approach me again. Meanwhile, Sophia had been unusually active lately, appearing frequently on various reality shows to approach me again. To my surprise, she even entered the same international music competition as me. She publicly addressed me on social media, claiming that the incidents back in school were due to her immaturity. She boldly declared that this time, she would rely on her talent to surpass me. Her post, however, was flooded with ridicule from netizens. Comments like, there goes the queen of drama again, and your so-called talent? How about Liam's expensive team backing you up? Okay, filled her page. Many pointed out that anyone with a decent team could make it big, but she foolishly chose to compete against someone with real talent. The day of the competition finally arrived. I was extremely cautious, bringing my own water and avoiding anything prepared by others, wary of any underhanded tricks Liam or Sophia might pull. As I got into the vehicle provided by the organizers to head to the venue, my phone buzzed with frantic messages from Emma. Where are you? The organizers said they never picked you up. Where did you go? My heart raced, but I forced myself to remain calm. I immediately shared my live location with Emma and told her to contact the police. Hopefully this is just a misunderstanding, I thought, and not what I fear. I glanced at the driver, trying to appear casual. When I looked up, my eyes met his in the rearview mirror. His gaze was cold and devoid of any emotion. Then he spoke, his tone chilling. It's no use. The police won't make it in time. My breath hitched as the car suddenly accelerated, heading toward the outskirts of the city. A white mist began streaming from the air vents, and I quickly covered my nose and mouth. But it was no use. My consciousness started slipping away. Before I blacked out, I heard the driver let out a heavy sigh. Blame your bad luck. Few survive. My daughter won't live. When I woke up, I was tied up in an abandoned factory. My phone was gone, and the sight of the place sent a shiver down my spine. This was the same location where, in my past life, I had been brutally beaten to death by 2 kidnappers. Fear surged through me, making me tremble uncontrollably. Please don't kill me, I begged the man in front of me. My parents are waiting for me at home. I can't die. I still have friends in this life. Please, I'm begging you, don't kill me. But the man's expression remained cold. No, Mia. You were pretty smug when I was being canceled online, weren't you? Bet you never thought you'd end up like this. From the shadows, I suddenly heard a mocking laugh. It was a familiar voice that made my blood run cold. Mia, look at you now. So pathetic. Sophia, I gasped. This is kidnapping. It's illegal. You're a public figure. You'll ruin yourself. Aren't you afraid of being caught? I asked, my voice trembling. Sophia sneered, her expression full of disdain. Do you really think anyone will notice if you die? Mia, no one will find you. I felt like I'd never done anything to you. Why do you hate me so much? You want to win the international competition? Fine. I won't participate. The championship will be yours. You don't need to kill me. Sophia laughed loudly, as if I had just told the funniest joke. Nothing against me? Mia, do you know how much cyberbullying I've endured because of you? Why don't you have to do anything? And you're still the top in vocals? Why does Liam love you no matter what? Do you know he could easily suppress all the bad press about me? But instead, he lets it spread everywhere because he's paving the way for you. He's even prepared all kinds of evidence to destroy me completely today, just so you can stay perfect and untarnished in everyone's eyes. Her voice grew shrill, her words tumbling out like a dam breaking. All I did was reject him once, just because his face was scarred and disfigured, and for that he wants to ruin me? This whole kidnapping was his idea. He ordered that no harm should come to you, but he never expected me to tweak his plan a little. Mia, enjoy your last moments. After you're gone, I'll send the videos of your torture to your parents and Emma. Let them see what happens when they cross me. The empty factory fell silent again, save for my ragged breathing and the heavy presence of the kidnapper. Fear surged through me as I shrank back. Don't kill me. Whatever Sophia paid you, I can pay double. Please don't kill me. My parents are waiting for me at home. I sobbed desperately. Or at least give me a moment to write a goodbye letter. The kidnapper stepped closer, gripping a bat tightly. His expression remained cold. Fine. You have 10 minutes to say your goodbyes. If someone comes to save you in that time, it means you're not meant to die. 10 minutes felt like an eternity and a blink at the same time. The kidnapper sighed deeply, raising the bat. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I have to save my daughter. I'll try to make it as painless as possible. I clenched my eyes shut, bracing for the inevitable, just as I thought my life was over. A loud bang echoed through the factory as the door was smashed open. The kidnapper froze, turning toward the sound. In the next moment, several police officers stormed in, tackling him to the ground and securing him. One figure rushed to my side, frantically untying the ropes and checking me for injuries. His hands trembled as he spoke. Mia, you're alive. This time, I finally saved you. I looked at him stunned. Emma? I asked, confused by his words. My mind reeled. What does he mean this time? Could it be? He had also been reborn? Fragments of memories flashed through my mind. In my last life, before I died, I had desperately called Emma for help. I had been deaf, unable to hear what he said on the other end of the line, pouring out everything I regretted. About saving Liam, about everything. Could it be that Emma had heard me and tried to save me then, but I hadn't held on long enough? Tears welled up in my eyes as the realization hit me. In my previous life, I hadn't been as alone as I thought. Emma panicked at the sight of my tears. Mia, don't cry, she pleaded, but her own tears soon followed. In the end, we were both sobbing uncontrollably, clinging to each other. Mia, what would I do if something happened to you? Emma wailed. What about your parents? I can't take care of two families on my own. It's okay, I said between sobs. I don't want anything to happen to me either. I just want to live, but who could have guessed those two idiots, Liam and Sophia, would drag me into their mess? The police escorted the kidnapper out and asked us to return to the station to give statements, wiping my tears. I quietly told the officers, I think the kidnapper was forced into this because his daughter was being threatened. He didn't want to do it. Can you save his daughter? I asked the police, still wiping away tears. Emma, who was also teary-eyed, suddenly froze. Wait, Mia, she exclaimed. Today's the day of the international competition. We can't let that little snake, Sophia, win so easily. She turned to the officers urgently. Officers, we know where the mastermind is. Mia, let's head back immediately. Even if Liam is about to go to jail, letting Sophia win would hurt more than anything else. Without wasting any time, we jumped into a police car, its sirens blaring, as we sped toward the competition venue. Meanwhile, 10 minutes before her performance, Sophia was smoothing out her elegant dress as she made her way to Liam. He was visibly agitated, frequently checking his phone, as though waiting for a call from someone. Sophia's lips curled into a sly smile as she slowly leaned closer to him. However, when she caught a glimpse of the uneven scars beneath his mask, she quickly suppressed her disgust. Liam, I never rejected you because of your scars. I love you, she said softly, feigning sincerity. Why are you so focused on Mia now? Have you forgotten that she didn't save you when you needed her most? Liam's expression darkened, his frustration barely contained. Who gave you the right to talk about her like that? He snapped. Startled, Sophia's breath hitched as she took a step back. Just then, someone backstage reminded her that it was almost time for her to go on stage. Before leaving, she leaned close to Liam and whispered in his ear, She's in my hands now. There's no way she can call you. If you want to know where she is, let my performance go smoothly. Otherwise, I can't guarantee she'll come out of this unharmed. Liam's eyes widened in shock, and his pupils shrank. He immediately contacted his team, ordering them to cancel their original plans and focus on finding me. Sophia's performance went off without a hitch. It was admittedly impressive, and had I not shown up, she likely would have taken the trophy. But I was the last to perform, the highlight of the event. As my time approached, the host called out, "Miss Mia, is Miss Mia here? If not, we will have to assume she is withdrawing from the competition." The audience erupted into murmurs, and social media buzzed with speculation. Some claimed I was too scared to compete, while others guessed that something unfortunate might have happened to me. My parents, watching from home, frantically texted me, worried about my safety. I quickly replied, assuring them that there had just been a small delay. On stage, Sophia's victorious smile spread wider, as though she could already feel the weight of the trophy in her hands. But just then, the sound of police sirens blared from outside, growing louder by the second. The audience stirred, whispering curiously. The timing couldn't have been more dramatic as the doors to the venue swung open, and I walked in. My clothes were torn, and I was bruised, but I strode confidently toward the stage. Sophia's smile froze, and Liam's eyes lit up with relief. I grabbed the microphone and addressed the crowd. "Apologies, everyone. I ran into a little kidnapping on my way here. What can I say? When you're as talented as I am, jealousy tends to follow you everywhere." The audience chuckled, and the tension in the room eased. Smiling, I continued. "Today, I'll be performing an original song titled Life. It's about finding hope even in the darkest times. No matter how difficult things may seem, life always offers a sliver of light. You just have to take the time to see it. Don't let yourself be trapped in suffering," I said, my voice calm yet resolute. In my past life, I was stuck in self-pity, ashamed of my hearing loss, too scared to face the world, and allowed Liam to manipulate me. I hated the world for being so unfair. But the truth was, the wrongdoer wasn't me. It was Liam and people like him who didn't deserve the privileges they took for granted. I took a deep breath, my voice steady as I addressed the crowd. In my last life, my parents may have passed away, but I always had friendships. If only I had reached out, I wouldn't have been alone. Today, I want to share that sentiment with all of you. The sincerity of my words moved the audience, and as I finished my performance, thunderous applause filled the venue. Winning the championship was no longer in question. Meanwhile, Sophia was being escorted away by the police. Her screams echoed through the hall. "Mia, I hate you. Every single time I'm about to succeed, you show up and ruin it. Why don't you just die? Why do you always destroy my future?" Just as her angry words filled the room, the large screen on stage began playing incriminating footage. It revealed the truth about Sophia's past, how she initially used her body to gain resources, later fell into drug addiction, and ultimately lured innocent young girls into substance abuse before exploiting them. "No, don't look, that's not me!" Sophia screamed hysterically, trying to block the screen. But her efforts were futile, turning her anger toward Liam. "Sophia, who gave you the right to play the good guy now? The money you used to start your company came from me. And those songs in high school? Those were Mia's, and you gave them to me. What right do you have to act righteous now?" Her breakdown continued as she accused him of orchestrating the kidnapping and claimed she merely tweaked the plan. Her words only cemented the evidence against her. The police arrested Sophia on the spot. Liam was also taken in for questioning. Despite everything, Liam walked toward me, his eyes red with regret. Emma immediately stepped in to shield me. "Mia, can we talk? Just for a moment." His once proud demeanor had crumbled, and he looked older, almost pitiful. "I didn't want to hurt you or Emma. I regret everything so much." I cut him off coldly. "Liam, you don't love me. At the start of this life, you wanted to be with Sophia. Only after you were disfigured did you see her disdain for you. And when life became difficult, you started thinking about me. That's not love, it's selfishness." "No, that's not true." Liam shook his head desperately. "After you died in our past life, I regretted everything. And yet, as soon as you were reborn, you ran straight back to Sophia." I interrupted. "Liam?" He seemed to lose all his strength, his shoulders slumping in defeat. "Mia, what can I do to make you forgive me?" "I don't want to see you ever again," I said firmly. "Nothing good ever happens when you're around." Sophia's crimes were now fully exposed, earning her the death penalty. Liam was implicated in her schemes and confessed to using illicit funds to start his company. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Before his incarceration, he sent me a letter through an intermediary. I didn't bother reading it and threw it straight into the trash. After everything he'd done, his so-called apologies would only insult me further. The kidnapper's daughter was rescued safely, and he received a 2-year sentence as he was being taken away. He and his daughter broke down in tears, kneeling before me in gratitude. The sight startled me so much, I nearly knelt and returned instinctively. Later, Emma scolded me. "Mia, you're way too soft-hearted. How can you not hold a grudge against someone who almost killed you?" Grinning, I threw myself into her arms playfully. "But everything's fine now, isn't it? Besides, if he hadn't gone easy on me, I might not have survived. By the way, are you coming over for dinner tonight? My mom said she's throwing a party to celebrate my championship win." Emma laughed and agreed. For the first time in this life, I felt a sense of peace. My parents were alive, Emma was by my side, and I was free to express my emotions. Unlike my past life, I was no longer alone.